Canada Post should end door-to-door letter mail delivery. That's the recommendation of a report from the Industrial Inquiry Commission. The report was ordered in December by then Labour Minister Steve McKinnon as he ordered an end to the labour dispute. The report is now public and it suggests transformational change at the Crown Corporation. As I mentioned, it recommends ending daily door-to-door letter delivery for individuals, but it does recommend keeping it for businesses. It also suggests lifting the moratoriums on the closure of rural post offices and conversions to community mailboxes. The president and CEO of Canada Post, Doug Ettinger, released a statement that reads in part, "We welcome the report's recommendations and will work with our bargaining agents and our shareholder, the Government of Canada, to address our challenges and secure a sustainable path forward." The newly minted Jobs Minister, Patty Hajdu, also released a statement today saying the report highlights the main issues that are holding up getting to an agreement and offers a way forward. She added, "It's time for everyone to put aside their differences, focus on shared goals, and ensure a strong postal system now and into the future." We did ask both the minister and someone from the Crown Corporation to come on the program today, but both declined our invitation. We are happy, though, to have the Canadian Union of Postal Workers negotiator, Jim Gallant, with us. Thanks for being here once again.
Thanks for having us on.
So I guess the first question is your reaction to that report because of what it is saying and what it needs to do, especially that recommendation of ending door-to-door delivery service.
Well, we're disappointed, but not surprised. There's no doubt that the government ordered this report, paid for this report, and likely had some expectations of the report. So we went to this commission, and it looks like what the report does is dismisses everything that the union said and the hundreds of submissions from municipalities, the public, Indigenous communities, and charities, because the report shows that all of those entities agreed with the union, but the report does not agree with the union. It agrees with the employer.
And it disagrees on some of the key things that you guys were saying going into this, notably that the issues facing Canada Post are the result of mismanagement, or that the current financial situation, I'm quoting from it here, has been manufactured for tactical reasons. They say that that is completely false. What do you say to that?
I say that during the commission, Canada Post provided no evidence of any of their problems. That we were asked to cost things when Canada Post was not. And the commission seems to have relied totally on Canada Post's financial reports, which are audited. There's no doubt of that. But if you go out and buy 10,000 vehicles, that passes the audit because you actually have 10,000 vehicles. The problem is you only needed 1,000 vehicles to run the business that year, and you bought 9,000 to make sure that your money is depleted. You know, at that point there's no money for Christmas gifts, right?
Right. No, I take your point on that, but it's still sides with Canada Post in saying that that their financial situation is not something that they did essentially to manufacture to create this crisis, and that is something that your union has been saying from the get-go. They basically reject that argument out of hand.
They do. The commission rejects that submission of the union, but doesn't investigate Canada Post to do it.
So do you think that this commission was not thorough enough?
This commission wasn't thorough enough, and the union has been saying that from the beginning. A mandate review is what needs to be done when it comes to Canada Post. Mandate reviews have been done in the past, and it allows for public submissions by the union, and it allows for a more thorough investigation of what's going on and what the lay of the land is at that juncture.
But reviews were specifically underlined in this report. They said that there have been a number of reviews. I think it was about 4 in the last 6 to 10 years. And they say another review is not necessary. We are at a tipping point here. Do not take that point that another review isn't necessary because Canada Post is essentially at a fiscal cliff here.
When you look back, it goes back to, in this report, it goes back to some reviews that were done by different boards, and we end up with facts that were in those reports that were wrong. Conference Board of Canada is one of the ones that did a report. Those numbers are not right. It's not that anybody lied, it's just that the numbers in the reports were wrong. So you end up with, you start with a report that was wrong and then you build on that report. That's not helpful to the situation. So we need to see what the real lay of the land is. And the report is exactly what we were told was going to be in the report before it started. We heard that these things were going to be in a report, things about part-time employees and things about weekend delivery. We heard that in January before the commission started.
I'm trying to understand, because I think Canadians will sit there and say that there's been a number of reports, and you continue to say that you're discounting those reports because they're not based on fact or not on the right numbers. But I think Canadians are looking at this and saying, but this is the same story that we've heard for years and years and years and years, and they continue to think, well, somebody's got to fix Canada Post, so how can you contend that so many reports are wrong?
Well, it has been for years and years, and for years and years it was proven that they were wrong, because they said that we were going to be in a $1 billion loss situation by the year 2000 or 2020. None of that came to fruition, and the pandemic pushed, and you know, there was a pay equity complaint that was settled in 2020, and then COVID comes along, and every entity in the country hurt for those couple of years, and none of that's taken into account by the commission. We don't see any of that reported, and those were hard years for every business, and Canada Post as a service, we were all at work every day. So, and people that were, you know, older, somebody over 70 that was still working, they were home with pay. And those sorts of things hurt the corporation, there's no doubt, for years. So, but it wasn't taken into account by the commission, and that's not the lay of the land today. What happened 3 years ago should be taken into account, no doubt. But we need to see a way forward, and that's what the union's trying to do. You know, we're talking about weekend delivery. We're talking about what part-time employees are and how many we have now.
So are you open to that? Because that is something that this report says needs to be factored in, that weekend delivery by part-time employees has to be part of it. And that was something that, if I'm not mistaken, you were sitting here and saying, no, that's a non-starter a few months ago. And
the report doesn't report that part-time employees already work, well, temporary employees work about 4 to 6 million hours a year, and part-time employees work more than that. So the total employment is about 80% full-time, and there's 20% that are part-time and temporary employees. So they already have lots of flexibility.
So we're looking at the extension of this collective agreement expiring May 22nd. So next Thursday, a lot of Canadians are wondering what will happen. Will you go on strike? Will there be a lockout? What work is being done between now and then to make sure that there isn't another labor stoppage? Because you have hundreds of business owners, small business owners, that rely on you. So what can you say to Canadians right now about trying to hammer out some sort of agreement so we don't get to another labor stoppage?
We asked Canada Post to come back to the table. The third time, again this week, for a third time in this round of bargaining, they've walked away from the table. There were talks between some of the negotiators this afternoon, but they've walked away time and again. And now we're sure that with this report, it'll embolden Canada Post, and that's not helpful. And in the meantime, last Friday, before the report came out, a week ago, they sent out a notice that they were going to change working conditions. So they took away, they're going to take away people's medical, dental, those sorts of benefits, drug coverage. And they've told us that they will cancel all vacations and things like maternity leave.
If there's a labor stoppage?
No, that's part of their, they can change the conditions, and they've given us notice that I guess it's their intention. They use the word could on the 23rd. Those conditions can change.
Okay, but not guaranteed. And I'm just trying to give them the benefit of that. We don't have them
at no
here today.
point have we said that we were going to go on strike, and we were not sending them letters to threaten them with it.
Okay, so we still have about another week. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it there. Canadian Union of Postal Workers negotiator Jim Gallant, thanks for being with us as always. Appreciate that.
Thank you.